Everybody likes a good underdog story. A story of someone who has really improbable odds overcoming something great. A lot of times we see it in sports movies where one team or one person who doesn't have great odds overcomes the odds and wins whatever the game is. And I think the reason we like that is because it speaks to our lives in the moments in our lives where we feel like there's something that we can't overcome. There's sometimes a mountain in front of us that we feel like is immovable and that we aren't going to be able to make it past. But we hope and we pray that we can make it over that mountain. Today we hear a great underdog story from the Bible, one of my favorite stories. I used to have a little picture book about it. It's the story of David and Goliath. And you might know it well that when the Philistines come against the people of Israel, Israel sends out David. David with little armor and only a slingshot and a couple of stones. And then the Philistines send out their giant, Goliath, who is clad all in mail, and he laughs at David when he sees him coming. He sizes him up and he says, "This is some sort of joke." He curses the people of Israel. But David's response to Goliath is so important, and it's very powerful. He says, "You come at me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he will show you today that it's not by sword and spear that he saves his people, because the battle is the Lord's." It's a very powerful testament of his trust and confidence in God and not in any human means of winning the battle. It's not about what he brings as a weapon to the battle, but rather that he trusts in the Lord that becomes his strength. And David overcomes Goliath, as we know. He only has to throw one stone from his slingshot and he falls dead. How often in our lives do we feel like we're the underdog, that we have these mountains that can't be overcome, that we have a giant right in front of us and we have nowhere else to go? Those sorts of things like our own sin and addiction, or relationships that need healing, family problems, people who are terminally ill and sick. These are all things that are so difficult to deal with, and a lot of times we want to try and deal with them by evading them or by finding some other way to act as though they're not there. But David reminds us that our strength is in God. We're called to stand firm, stand our ground before these giants in our lives, and to say, the battle is the Lord's. And it's not by what I have, not my clever words, not my different ways of evading that are going to help this situation. That's not going to win me the battle, but only my trust in the Lord, by standing firm and going forward in his name. So let's ask the Lord to give us that total trust in him, that when it comes to the battle, we may trust in him and not in our own strength.